Hey, greetings everybody, welcome. As always, it's Friday. I'm exhausted, but I'm still doing all of these videos so that you can know about something that you really don't probably need to know about for 4 months. But hey. Some of us like to be ready. That's fine. So today we're talking about Barts. And earlier today I talked about Lena, and honestly, I'm quite happy with Lena. Looking at Lena's kit, I can see potential, and potential is always exciting kind of thing. And Barts, most people on JP right now are looking at this unit that we got our first free copy of and thinking, wow, he's really good, right? Like, he seems really good, as we're about to show. But this brings up an interesting point. Next week, Ferris. Ferris is the last one to come out. And Ferris is going to be another 100 cost character. Just how powerful is Ferris going to be, considering about what we're going to talk about with Barts? Keep that in mind, dear viewer, just for the sake of this video. All right, so Barts, a light elemental character. Don't get angry, it's not my fault. I didn't decide it, because if I had, he'd probably be wind or some other element. Barts is basically, like, he's the main character of Final Fantasy V, and therefore he has to be pretty good, right? Well, taking a look at his stats here, I mean, this is the combined elemental party, so just for reference sake, let's show Sephiroth, who is fairly evenly equipped, right, for the most part. You can see where my Sephiroth's attack, speed, all of that is, as well as friendships. That's not what I was looking for. Resistances. So you can take a look at all of that across the board, get an idea for what he is in this setting. Now let's take a look at Barts. As you can see, less HP, less speed, more attack, and, similar defense and whatnot. But looking down here, resistances and elemental protection, nowhere near as good. Now, we've gone mostly offensive with quite a few of the vision cards, and you'll notice, wait a minute, Umbra, that's not a light unit. We're testing something in this video, dear viewer, and hopefully I picked a good map for it. But we're going up against Dark because Dark is kind of everywhere. Yesterday in our guild battle, as a short little story time, we went up against the Taurus guild, which was basically all Wraths and King Bradleys, and just woof. Needless to say, our guild lost hard, but it's a new day. So anyway, let's take a look at Barts in action and also then jump into his kit. So we're going to do a little bit of a preview here and then kind of go from there. All right, so Sephiroth, as per usual, let's get his barrier up, because that's truly the measure of a man who can fight against this character, right? Now, as you can see, we got Barts right away, so taking a look once he is in battle, we can get a little bit of an idea for some stat changes and whatnot, but mostly the same, so great. All right. Now, the ability that I really want to test out of all of his stuff, because yes, he has barriers and everything, he has some interesting stuff there, and we'll go through all of that in a second, but this ability, the follow-up ability, this is something that I've been curious for a while. So taking a look at Stern here, taking a look at hitting Sephiroth, we can get an idea for the types of damage we're doing here. As you can see, Bart's not super good against mages, as Majin Fina is going to clean his clock. But yeah, let's take brief second there. We're going to go up here, continue doing buffing, some protecting, and all of that. Again, taking a look at what someone like Wing Stern can do here versus some of the other Dark characters, and even against his counterparts in the case that he was just doing light damage. We can get an idea for the types of damage amounts we can do to each of these characters, and so on. But yeah, let's skip ahead and let's try this. So theoretically, the way this ability is supposed to work is when you activate it, Within a diamond shape area around Barts, a attack should hit an opponent and a secondary attack should fire from Barts. Let's give it a shot. Bugged? Not entirely sure. So, all right, let's take a look and see at the kit what the heck is going on. So first off, we'll go through a few of the extraneous things, such as Bart's weapon. Much in the same way as Lena, high conditions for this being equipped to Bart's. Slash attack resistance penetration of 20, decrease AP consumption by 15, reaction block rate of 30 with slash attack up of 15. I nary think that you will find more better a weapon than this. This is a pretty amazing little piece of equipment for Barts. So many good conditional things that are only for him means that it can be basically fine-tuned for him and be quite strong. The Assault also has 176 attack, as well as 7 accuracy and 4 crit, but there's actually some decent alternatives. If you're not averse to losing a little bit of attack, you can get 28 accuracy or 16 crit, which in combination with the other stuff is fairly, important. Taking a look at the vision card, which is definitely for him, HP up by 311, HP of 20, and attack of 156. Here, unit effects of increase attack by 20%, increase accuracy by 8, as well as the party effect of human killer on physical attacks, increase elemental chain resistance by 24, and increase accuracy by 25. In combination with the weapon and this VC plus his kit, he's a fairly good character at being accurate without needing sure hit, which is quite nice. I am happy to see that. He also can get good amount of chain resistance and human killer from a combination of VC's equipment and, of course, main kit, which is what we're going to look at right now. So he is a 100 cost character, he is limited, but he is free on his first copy. Secondary jobs are Urel's main job, as well as Viking, and I can't remember, I think it's World Traveler or something like that as his main title job. TMR is Armor, 450 HP, 12 defense, 6 spirit. 4 critical evade is all really nice, and it does give a 40% attack boost for allies, as well as granting a Dispel Haste effect on attacks, which is pretty cool, of getting rid of haste. Haste is still used, not always, but it is nice to have another piece of equipment that can potentially just get rid of haste. As for master ability, AoE resistance slash attack penetration, slash resistant penetration, should say. Dream ability, AP consumption down by 20 and reaction block rate of 50. So between equipment and VCs, getting him into 140, you have a fair amount of different sources of slash attack resistance penetration, AP consumption down, reaction block rate. You have all this stuff. So, I mean, it's looking really good and really generally quite strong for Barts. Getting into his supports, his main support gives defense penetration down by 40, attack up by 4, accuracy of 20, another source of accuracy, and AoE resistance of 12, which is a lot of stuff in good order too. Taking a look at his other one, initial AP of 15 and acquired AP by 40, in combination with just so many different sources of like his AP consumption down, I don't think Barts is going to have really too much trouble getting AP. I mean, he's probably a pretty independent character of ever needing bells, since he has some good supports to cast at the beginning and a lot to effectively reduce his AP. Even 30 AP abilities are dropped down to 20 or 10, or around 10 mark. Very quickly. Now, Urel does give him extra attack and defense penetration, which is good. He is an assault type character. You also have HP attack up if you want to go a little bit more tanky. Agility and move +1, which is a really good option because right now the friend unit is basically built with Hermes sandals, which not everyone has. So it's nice that he does have an agility booster, or just flat missile resistance, which is really boring, but maybe good in some. As for his counter, his physical reflex, which I think is really good, chance to counter all damage by increasing HP and applying Berserk, which probably not. And his main ability is countering physical damage while reducing damage by 5%, similar to Lena's ability, but Lena's is magical and his is physical. Honestly, there's two good options here. I mean, just evading is pretty good. There is, reaction block out there, but in the case that there isn't, this is just even better. And this also is pretty decent. So I don't know, probably go with URLs if I had to say which one, because it's getting blocked. It's getting blocked. Now, taking a look, Limit Burst decreases slash resistance by 38% for just this cast, which is a little disappointing because it is a hefty amount of slash resistance penetration, and there are characters out there that have a decent amount of this. So this getting taken away feels kind of bad, but I don't know. Maybe it's just would have been too powerful. Either way, it's a single target attack, and it doesn't have a high AP cost. And with the AP cost down, pretty sure he'll be able to cast this at any point in time. Viking, now it does have some slashing, and it does have some piercing damage. It also has some pretty high mods on some of its abilities. I don't think he'll be running Viking too much, because it's still kind of old, but there's some good stuff in there. As for Urel's, this one, I feel like you have a much higher chance of wanting it because you do have Guts right on it with restoring AP. You can attack and decrease agility. You can just increase your attack by 60% for 3 turns, while at the cost of a little bit of spirit, which honestly, I don't think he's going to be going up against mages. And he has moved to a unit panel. Urel's actually feels decently good in him. I mean, even if you just run for Guts, probably enough of a reason to run it. You are giving up a fairly high range damage mod on this one, single target, but still. And you're giving up an increasing HP one, which also gives him a regen effect. This is one that I think he uses quite regularly. It does give interesting 3 turns, basically 30 slash attack up for having regen. I don't know, I feel like Urel's just flat out beats this, but this isn't necessarily bad. Taking a look at his main job though, lots of good stuff here. Primary attack, short range on it, but it is a debuffer. We have Dispel to fatal, or Dispel Guts or Immortal Spirit to the opponent. In an AoE no less, with a 165 mod, which is pretty decent. Fairly good range on it. Now, this ability is supposed to be his increased slash attack resistance penetration by 40 turns, while also having that extra effect. Now, I don't know if the effect is just bugged at the time of recording. Basically, we ended up casting it, and it doesn't seem to have worked. I'm not too sure on this one, so I'm just going to leave it as B. But, okay, taking a real quick look at what Sephiroth's LB is about to do to him. Just jumping over to make sure, yeah, this is the one with the Unchained effect. It should be on here, but I don't know about this one. So, I don't know. I'll make a video about it commenting later once I find out. Now, switching back into looking at this for a second before we check out some more damage that Barts can do. We do have reducing physical barrier by 50% for 3 turns. Into his EX, it actually gets improved, reducing physical damage up to 70% for 3 times, which is only physical, but it's a heck of a good barrier for that. It also increases AoE resistance by 20 for 4 turns for allies, so it does give a little bit of bone for allies too. You can decrease AoE resistance for this one large AoE ability that deals 165 mod. It also gets upgraded to 200%, so it does deal a little bit better. And his last ability, Job Level 25, is a 240 mod. If Auto Restore or Haste is on the target, it gets an extra 60% mod, so a 300%er, which is really strong, that reduces counter chance by 100 for 3 turns. on a single target that also absorbs 50% of the damage done as healing for Barts. I think this is the similar situation to Lena. It feels just really quite obvious that Barts is very, very powerful. And yet at the same time, when you start seeing the kind of damage that he's going to do against characters such as Raph, keep in mind Raph is only a 115 here, or, dealing against Majin Vina, or dealing against Sephiroth, you can see that Barts kind of has certain shortcomings. He doesn't have a particularly good way to get through barrier, which is problematic. Even dealing this high amount of slash attack resistance penetration, we're just not quite getting there. Taking a look at some other abilities, his large AoE, a little more successful against Sephiroth, just because we are taking some of that protection out of the way that a lot of units are looking. I mean, he can get through characters, and as you can see, he's very capable of dealing high amounts of damage. It's just, is it good enough kind of thing? Like, is any of this stuff really good enough? And you can see that while we can effectively deal with some of the protection that is out there, there's certain other types of protection that we cannot get through, and that is probably going to be a little bit of a struggle. So this one is his job level 25 ability, as you can see. Or wait, just making sure because I blocked. Yes, this is the correct one. We are getting a fair amount out of casting this ability. Just jumping over here for a second. You can see we are doing some, but it's not necessary. Wait, is this the ability? Oh. Sorry, this is the first time I've been testing him with these abilities, but this seems to have unlocked. I really got to investigate this ability a little bit more, but it's brand new. It's brand new. Just put a pin in that. All right, so this ability was the one I wanted to talk about. It's job level 25 because, as you can see, even against Raph, we are getting like a roughly 4,755 damage hit, which, when we do it, I mean, we're generating half of that, which is a fairly hefty, which is pretty good. And that's even without all of the buffs that we potentially have. Let's skip ahead a little bit. Right over here, and we're just going to use his TMR buff to get this nice little attack boost. Sephiroth, just keep sitting there looking pretty. I promise we'll have something for you to. And eventually we'll get right back around here and take a look at him. And basically what kind of stats you can be looking at for the buff with this equipment, and going in and seeing how much it deals now. Fairly high amount of damage. Not perfect, but pretty good. And yes, we are basically trying some buffs, some without. We'll just hit Sephiroth here just to see how this works. Plus, it's a really cool animation. Played at triple speed. And just to compare against another fairly good damage dealer of Wing Stern, who will be coming out fairly shortly on. As you can see, Sephiroth's still quite tough to get through. With his barrier up. And for that, we would almost certainly a barrier breaker of some kind. Such as that, which, as you can see, boosts the amount of damage. So yeah, Bart's everything about Bart's kit I really generally like, but trying to figure out how this new ability works on the first day when haven't really tested it and just threw it out there, it seems okay. Like it does if it's just an ability that unlocks that gives Bart's a considerable range, then that shouldn't be it, but I do believe that it might just be bugged. So I really don't know what to say about that one, unfortunately, in terms of this. Like, in turn against the dark matchup or certain matchups where that are going to be very heavy in barriers and whatnot, Bartz feels like he's going to need a really good partner, and that might be what it comes down to, where just having good partners with Bartz will make him excel, where a lot of other parties he might fall just to being feeling more generally okay. I mean, Bart's kit has a lot of potential once it's fine-tuned of being just a next generation like sort of lock, in the sense that a lot of people are going to use him and put him in parties and he's going to be everywhere potentially. That being said, this character is still a character that we got essentially for free, and Ferris is coming next week with a brand new mechanic as well that could just completely eclipse what Bartz is capable of doing. This is such an interesting point for me, where it's very clear that I like a lot of stuff about Bartz. I think that he can be really good in a lot of cases, but I'm just curious, like, with more testing of my own Bartz, to see what he's really capable of doing and what other people are. Into the dark matchup against Sephiroth, definitely going to need a friend to really be good about it and figure out exactly how his new ability works in total to be able to get it to function the way that I thought it did anyway. So yeah, that's basically it for this video. A quick early look. I feel like I'm like after testing him more in the dark than I was before. So I will be doing more tests over the next little bit, and I'll probably create a follow-up video to do with both Lena and Bartz, since both of them feel like a little bit unknown as to how good they will be. And I will report back in the future. So take this first look, dear viewer, judge for yourself how well you think Bartz did today. Whether you think he's lackluster or really great, maybe it's the VCs that we're missing, maybe it's just the fact that Sephiroth is potentially just not the character he again. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. And as of always, have a great weekend, and we'll see you a little bit later, a little bit more update.